Step 1. Briefly introduce yourself, then proceed to thank the person for meeting with you. Always be polite and establish a personal connection. Make sure to say nothing about your product idea, which will avoid biasing the customer. For example, Alex and Sid came up with this. "Hi, my name is Alex. This is Sid. We are the founders of Productified. Thank you very much for agreeing to speak with us. This means a lot." Step 2. Qualify your customer. In a conversation, you could identify your target market by posing a qualifying question. For example, Alex and Sid asked, "Do you have a product idea?" They could have asked, "Are you an innovator, an entrepreneur? Are you working on a new product?" Some of these questions are not specific enough, while the others are too narrow. Step 3. Learn about the background of your customer. Ask them to describe themselves. For example, Alex and Sid asked, "Can you please tell us briefly about yourself? What is your occupation? Where did you attend school?" Think of the information about your customers that can be helpful for your marketing efforts down the road. This information could be demographics such as age, gender, and geography. It can also be psychographics such as values, opinions, and interests, along with behavior such as their social hangout spots, their favorite local shops, and if they have subscriptions. You can use the information to craft marketing messages, product descriptions, and know where to look for customers, both online and offline. Ordinarily, most people like talking about themselves. They will welcome your questions as long as they will not intrude into their privacy. Step 4. Problem discovery. Your product idea is a solution to a problem. Your solution is through your viewpoint. Now, let's see what your customer's viewpoint is. At this step, you have to approach this with an open mind and forget about your idea. An example of those who have a product idea: Alex and Sid asked them the following questions. 1. In general terms, tell us about your favorite or recent product idea without revealing anything confidential. 2. What steps did you take to develop the idea? 3. What went well during the idea development process? 4. What have you struggled with during the idea development process and why? In this example, Alex and Sid warmed up the customers by the first 3 questions and learned something about them. The last question is the key to understanding the problem. To go beyond superficial symptoms, the question why is essential to discover the cause of the problem. It's worth asking why several times to peel the layers of symptoms. You can rephrase the question, "And why do you think that is?" It might be helpful to paraphrase the customer's response. Think like a doctor. If a patient complains about chest pain, it's just a symptom, but the root cause is something else, such as clogged arteries. Imagine a doctor treating a symptom without addressing the cause. Would it help the patient long-term? It is similar to problem solving. You want to solve the underlying root cause of the problem, and if your solution works, then the symptoms will go away. During the customer interviews conducted by Alex and Sid, many said that they do not know how to develop their idea. Alex and Sid followed with a question, "What do you not know how to do?" The recurring theme in the answers was, "Actually, I don't even know where to start." That's how Alex and Sid came up with the concept of the Idea Development Guide as a step action guide. The guide not only presents the steps in a specific order, but also emphasizes where to start. Step 5. Problem validation. After you learned how the customer sees his problem and discovered the root cause, you want to make sure your understanding of customer pain is correct. Paraphrase what you understood from the customer and ask if it is correct. Let the customer clarify until you gain confidence that your understanding is accurate. Now you can ask the customer an open-ended question: how important would it be to solve the problem? This is to determine how painful the problem is for the customer. Step 6. Ideal solution discovery. Ask the customer open-ended questions such as, "What do you think can be done to help you with the problem? What would your ideal solution look like? If you could have any possible solution, what would it be?" Open-ended questions are a great tool in the interviewer's toolkit. You can learn a lot from customers' answers. Be sure not to interrupt and let the conversation flow. Not every customer will be able to answer these questions. Be sensitive and go to the next step if you feel that the customer is not comfortable talking about it. Step 7. Solution validation. It's time to unveil your idea to the customer, listen to his thoughts, feedback, and gauge his interest in potentially buying it. At this point, you need to switch from an interviewer to a salesperson. You are trying to sell your product to the customer. A few points to keep in mind. Ahead of time, prepare your sales pitch, along with memorizing a sentence or 2. Sale on benefits, not features. Follow this template, describe how the customer will benefit from the product, then provide a reason to support it. For example, if you are selling a waterproof coat, do not say it's waterproof or it is coated with 2 layers of silicone. Instead, this coat will keep you dry for at least 10 hours under pouring rain because it's coated with 2 layers of silicone and has been tested and certified by an independent lab. Don't be pushy and salesy. If the customer does not respond to your sales pitch, try to understand why. Listen carefully to the customer's objections or concerns and observe his body language. Keep in mind that most communication is nonverbal. For example, a customer nods with affirmation but does not give eye contact or appears to be bored. Learn from each customer's questions and keep improving your sales pitch. Often the entrepreneur wants to explore how much the customer would be willing to pay. Unfortunately, interviews and surveys are not always reliable for gaining this information. People do not like being understood as cheap. They will often say that they will pay a higher price than they actually would once the product becomes available. Also, they would not want to offend you and will indicate that they are interested in your product but are only being polite. Keep in mind that it is difficult for a person to put a monetary value on his benefits from your product. It is easier to think of a relative value than an absolute. For example, if there is a similar product on the market with a known price, you can describe or even show it to the customer. Then you can ask how much he would pay for the additional benefits that your product would bring. The customer may think in terms of a % of the product's price. An example of a sales pitch: Alex and Sid described Productified as an online platform to help people develop their ideas into products and bring them to market. Productified will provide an easy-to-follow guided process, access to affordable experts, help raise money, and manage projects. Here are some solution validation questions. What do you think of Productified? What features would you like to see on this platform? Would the product solve your problem? How likely are you to tell your friends about it? Would you ever use it? Step 8. Thank the customer for his time and for sharing his thoughts. Ask permission for a few more questions. Is there anything I did not ask that I should know about? Do you know anyone who has this problem, who I may ask similar questions? May I keep you in the loop on how the product develops? Would you be interested in trying it out? May I email you to follow up and if I have more questions? Download Productified's customer discovery template on the resource web page. Fill out the template with the results of the interviews. Make sure to capture all your notes and, if needed, review the videos or listen to the audio recordings. It is best to fill out the customer discovery template right after the completion of each interview while it's still fresh in your memory. Now you can sort the information in the customer discovery spreadsheet by specific columns to help you look for patterns in the answers and the underlying emotional responses. From here, you can answer the following questions. What's the customer's problem? Is it what I thought? Does my product solve customers' problems? What do customers like about it? Would customers buy it? Is my idea worth pursuing?